Hello, hello, beautiful people. We are live. Thank you so much for joining us. I am here with a very special Spread This Witches live event, and I have got two very remarkable, very well-known people, tarot personalities here with me. So I'm Avalon Cameron. If this is the first time you are on my channel, I know that each and every one of the guests that I have shared this link here, there, and everywhere. So we'll have some new people to my channel. So I'm Avalon Cameron. I am joined with the lovely Chase, two Als, our lovely tarot bro. I also have with me here Alora Rain. Make it rain, Alora Rain. That's her moniker at the moment. I have the wonderful Nico of Scarlet Moon, and he's a tarot reader and astrologer. He's a special guest and one of the original Spread This Witches hosts, and he is here with us today. Hello, Nico. And then, of course, we have the lovely headmistress of the Tarot Readers Academy, the one and only Ethony Dawn, creator and teacher. So we have a really full panel for you today, and we would like to introduce the concept of tarot ethics and discuss the importance of tarot ethics and how we can apply an awareness towards tarot ethics to help you and to help anybody else who is looking for a positive experience with a tarot reader and who has been marred by a negative experience with a tarot reader. So this is a very delicate subject, and we are going to try and be as open and as even as we can. We'll be discussing this from our own personal experiences and putting our own cultivated learning, knowledge, and understanding of such concepts to the test here for you, and see where we can go with that. And at the very end, if we have a little bit of time, we'll be pulling a few cards for you guys. So I would like to be able to hand over the microphone now to the lovely Nico, who was instrumental in assisting us put this live together. Nico has a wonderful understanding and knowledge about the importance of ethics within the tarot reader community and is very passionate about such a topic, as are we all. And so I would like to be able to hand over to Nico, allow him to introduce himself and explain a little bit about his understanding of ethics for you. So Nico.
Hello. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. I feel like we kind of had this talk a little while ago, back with the whole, like, we had a video like about a month or so ago, like with with Alora coming back, and we brushed on this topic before. I will preface and say, when it comes to the idea of ethics, the concept of ethics, of course, everyone does have, of course, their own their own ethical perspective. And I study a lot about normative ethics, but I won't get into philosophy right now. But for me, when I think of ethics and I think of tarot and I think of astrology or oracle or runes or anything, essentially, my number one focus when it comes to personal ethics is, serve and serve well, and make sure that, again, that this is something that can actually be utilized and implemented right away. And I feel that as readers, especially in a time where reading in particular is kind of vogue, we're kind of we're coming down the other side of the bell curve, where, readings and, and meditations and, that whole early 2010s, late 2000s kind of guru era kind of came and went, right? Building up to 2012 and after, we have a duty to sort of preserve the integrity of our craft, and I think that as witches, especially, when I look at, those of us who are witches and those of us who identify as witches, we have an obligation to, to also make sure that, there are ethics understood and implemented, but also at the same time that a reverence for our craft, whatever that craft be done, and since we are all now in a situation where, again, we are coming out of that area where all of this was vogue. If you remember back in 2013, 2014, when Spread This Witches and I was doing collaborative consciousness and all this kind of stuff was going on, everyone seemed to be able to get a $5 downloadable life coach, certificate, or crystal reader, diploma, or all of those things. And we're kind of coming into a space now where ethics become all the more important, because a lot of people, I think, are dealing with some of the backlash of some of that in the greater spiritual community. And I'm not sure, you know, if the topic of ethics, you know, itself, you know, is you know, it should be coming out as late as it is, you know, because a lot of people talk about ethics. We talk about things that are a little bit old and tried and true. You know, of course, you know, I mean, both of I've seen a couple of videos made by, you know, like Alora and Chase, for example. You know, they brought up a very good point about the tried and true. You know, okay, if somebody decides to say that, you know, you've got a hex worth about $2,000 that's been put on you, and if you, you know, go take a bath while I say this prayer for you for $2,000, you'll be free. That's clearly a red flag and a scam, you know. But I think there's more to it. You know, are we as readers actually being as effective as we are with our ethics? Are we owning our part or our experience as well as our gifts, you know, in a way that we're not holding anything back, but also at the same time, are we also perhaps getting back to a place where this is an art, a point of reverence? Those of us who do live in, you know, in westernized countries, you know, the US, Australia, the UK, Canada, all of those places, you know, we don't really understand that these arts actually are revered in other parts of the world, and they aren't really dimes a dozen. You know, if you do go to places like India, you do go to Japan, China, Brazil, all these places, these actually are given respect. So what do we have to do as a community to command that respect and reverence, because this is a part of our craft? I hope that's an okay of enough intro, just to throw it out there.
Thank you, Nico. And I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said respect and what we can do as readers and as a community, an aware community, to command that respect, because tarot reading has come a long way, and it is something that now is very intricate, and it is something that contains within it a lot of power and a lot of potential. And so those who are tarot readers have a tremendous responsibility to empower, to guide, to nurture, to demonstrate compassion, to not be judgmental, to set firm boundaries, to do all of the amazing things that one does when they are an ethical tarot reader, to assist another person in their personal growth. And that's the most important thing. And I think that when a line is crossed anywhere in the world, doesn't matter who it is, when a line is crossed, it can actually mar the perception of tarot in general. And when the perception of tarot is marred in America, it affects me. When it's marred in France, it affects me, because eventually, you know, little birdies talk and experiences are shared and little gossip goes flying. And before long, tarot is rubbish. I don't believe in tarot. It's crap. You know, they're all rip-off artists, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, what does happen out there, it does affect me personally, and it affects every single reader here on this particular panel at this moment in time, and every reader, you know, outside of this panel. And so, you know, it's very, very important to behave in a manner that does command respect. And that comes down to offering a service and having a good, solid set of ethics that entices, that inspires that respect. And so that is something that I personally work towards, and I believe that that is something that every one of us here works towards. And so with that said, I'm going to hand over who is our second very special guest here. And I know personally that Ethony has had her own issues with tarot ethics, and we've shared some great conversations. She's posted some stuff on her Facebook feed, so she knows it, I know it, we all know it. It's a weird truth that's out there, and we're like, oh my god, like, does this really happen? Like, sometimes it's like this head shaking moment of, does this really happen? Are people actually doing and saying these things? Oh my gosh, it's an OMG moment. So I'm going to hand over to Ethony, and she can enlighten you in the best way possible.
Hi everybody, I'll try. That's quite the intro. I've had a lot of very different experiences from being someone who goes to get their tarot read themselves, experiences then to being a professional tarot reader, and the shift in that for me. Because when you do move, if you've ever gotten a tarot reading, you can always say, this is what I did like and this is what I didn't like. This is what I want to bring to my craft as a professional, you know, tool, or this is like, oh my God, this person was wackadoo and I don't ever want to do that. I can't believe it. And then teaching tarot as well and mentoring people in the tarot. So there's a lot of different sides to it. And I just wanted to to sort of go on for what Nico was saying about, it's an interesting thing when we don't have a governing body, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't necessarily think that we need a Ministry of Magic for tarot readers, although it might be dope if we all got secret entrances to underground like hangouts. I'd be so down for that. But I don't know if we need one, right? We're a bit of rebel-hearted, as you know, being a witch as well. We're all a bit rebellious, and we mostly don't like the conformity of it all. But without having, you know, we don't go in front of the bar. We don't say the Hippocratic Oath. We aren't held up to any overarching governing standards. And then we have all of these different academies like mine, different schools coming up, different people teaching. And then what they're doing is they're teaching from their own perspective. So that doesn't help either, because then we just have, you know, I mean, help might be the wrong word, but it definitely broadens the perspective and broadens the polarizing thing of ethics when we've got a ton of different people teaching a ton of different things. And what I may take as unethical may not be culturally unethical to somebody else. It may have been something that they have always grown up with. You know, in Indonesia, for example, and I've traveled extensively in Indonesia many years ago, it was completely and utterly normal to go to the local bruja and have them curse another family member, or have her curse them another family for wrongdoings. In Bolivia, I was there the day after they sacrificed a llama to the gods of the Silver Mountain for their mines. So, and in India, it's very, very normal. So then you've got that coming along with it too, like all the cultural stuff, which we have to acknowledge and understand and represent in the fact that it's like, me as a white Western woman, I cannot tell you that your ancestors, that your mother, your grandmother, your people are wrong. It's just that in my culture, it's not the same. So how do we then integrate that as well? So we have this big wide world now, and then holy crap, man, like it's gotten so big because we're accessible to so much stuff. But yeah, the governing body, you know, we all kind of are our own little rebels, which I love. And not having a standard for ethics in that regard, and then having this beautiful worldwide world that we have, yeah, it gets very it gets interesting. But I do believe that we have a responsibility as readers to say, this is how I view the tarot, this is how I will read the tarot, and this is what I will not do. If you want to go find someone who will do that for you, that you feel fine with that you will sleep well at night, that you don't mind that there may be some karmic repercussions to that, then may the force be with you and you can go find somebody else. But sitting in our own integrity is super important, and having that be clear, like having that really clear to people who are potentially wanting to work with us, I think that is what's important.
That was beautifully said. That was beautifully said. And I love all the pop culture references that you made. It just sort of sung to my heart then. I'm like, may the force be with you. Oh my God. Ministry of Magic, yes. I was there. You engaged me. You won my heart. So cross-cultural perspectives are definitely something that, you know, need to be taken into consideration. You know, personal standards and judgments really then get inflamed in that particular regard. Now, I am a Brazilian woman living in Australia. I am also a Brazilian Australian woman who has lived in tiny little niche Indigenous communities where I was a very, very small minority. And I have had cultural bridging. I have had Northern perspectives training. And I understand that sometimes culture should not be, you just shouldn't fuck with it. Long and the short of it, you shouldn't fuck with it, because it's there, it's part of a long-standing history, and it's part of, more importantly, the narrative of an entire race of people, and that narrative is very, very ingrained. And so there will be those times when you as a tarot reader will come against some cultural differences. And in that case, it is up to you and your personal boundaries, your ethics, as to whether or not you will continue that reading or whether or not you will refer that reading on, that client on to another individual who you believe would be more capable or more suited as a reader for that individual. We always come across tough questions. We always come across tough situations. And it really is our personal code of ethics that allow us to navigate those difficult minefields from time to time, you know, with a sense of grace. And it is what we do in those difficult situations that determine our character as readers. And so it's really important for us to understand, you know, that there are certain things that you just can't do anything about. You know, in the nature of tarot readings, you will come across all sorts of clients, all sorts of situations. Some, you know, will inflame you. Some will really irritate you. Some will really push you to the edge. Others will teach you something. Others will allow you to expand your consciousness and raise your understanding of a subject that you might not never have had to consider. And so it's really important that as tarot readers, you be open to learning from your clients as well, because your clients will teach you something. Each and every client that you have that sits at your table, they are going to teach you something. They are going to teach you grace. They are going to teach you humility. They are going to teach you how to temper your anger. They are going to teach you so many things. And it really is up to you as an ethical tarot reader to be able to have that strong set of ethics that will assist you to navigate, you know, those situations, like I said, with grace. And so cross-cultural situations are something that I'm very familiar with, and they are something that I've had within tarot readings as well. I read for people on the internet, so I have an Etsy store, so I attract people from all over the world. Now, whether I'm attracting someone from the UK, America, that is still a cross-cultural thing. I talk to two of ours and Laura Rain a lot online, and some of their slang is like beyond me. We're talking English, and I understand what they're saying, but I'm just like, I don't get it. And so even when language seems the same, there are still differences to consider in that regard. And what I might say here in Australia might be total just bogan slang, could be morally offensive to another person. And we all need to consider those things, particularly within the standing of a reading. So with that said, two very great points put forward so far from our very special guests. And I would like to hand over the mic to the lovely Laura, and have Laura talk a little bit about her understanding of ethics and the importance therein.
Crap, I gotta go after Ethony? What is this? That's not fair. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so, God, I don't even know what I can say that Ethony did not say, because she pretty much hammered every nail that I've got on the head when it comes to ethics. But yeah, I mean, a lot of ethics within your personal structure of what you feel is right and wrong is, you know, it's your own compass, I guess you would say. Like, and for me, like when I read in meta shops, or even if I'm reading online or something like that, like I want to have something like a statement put out there that says, I will not do this, you know, this is the type of reader that I am. This is what I will do. And so there's no question about that. Like somewhere where it's posted, where they'll definitely see it. And with that said, you know, I feel like if they want to pose questions and things like that, that's fine. But I just always set out my ethics on the table, because there are some things that, you know, other people will do that I just won't. Third-party readings is one of them. I just can't do it. For me, that's something that, you know, I relate it to the physical world. And so, you know, I wouldn't want to go breaking into somebody's physical house. So by the same token, I don't want to break into somebody's spiritual space. Let's see. What else? And same thing, you know, Ethony mentioned the Hippocratic Oath and the bar and things like that. And I kind of, like here in this country, the Hippocratic Oath is like this huge thing. And client confidentiality and things like that, you know, definitely when you go to a tarot reader, you should be able to open up and let them in and give and receive. And when that is in play, you don't ever want to betray that. You don't ever want to muddy up that the sanctity of that space. And so, you know, as a tarot reader, that's kind of what I go by. First, do no harm. So if I feel like I'm, you know, if it's something that would cause spiritual harm to anyone involved, I'm most likely to say no. Like I mean, I've said no before. And it's not that they'll never get a tarot reading. It's just that I'm not their tarot reader. And that's perfectly okay. Like, you can say no to people. I mean, I know that from a business point of view, you don't really want to say that, but at the same time, like for me, I have no problem saying no when it goes against my personal ethics. But yeah, like everybody has a different, you know, what they will and won't do. And I just feel like it's important for you, if you're reading, to put that out there and let it be known prior to the reading, so everybody's on the same page. Avalon?
I love it. I love it. Some really, really great points being emphasized here. And so what I would like to do now is to demonstrate how ethics differ between reader to reader, and how they are the same also between reader and reader. So before we move on, I still have Chase that needs to talk, but I would like for the panel to start just thinking about their own personal ethics, things that you might have written up on your personal web pages and how you might define yourself during a reading, etc. So just start to think about those while Chase, our tarot bro, brings it home for the team.
Hello, you guys. I am so glad to be here. This is a topic for me that I'm super passionate about because, and I wear a little bit of a different bit of a hat when we talk about ethics, because I come from a very business standpoint. And so in talking about ethics, I want to approach it no matter, you know, what realm that we're talking about, whether it be tarot, whether it be my personal PT business. It all winds down to the same core principles and the same core values. And I can define that super simply by saying that when we start a business as a reader, from a reader perspective, and again, even outside of that, we can simplify that by saying, when does it cross the line of ethics? When you start a business and you start, well, let's just start there. When you start building the foundations of your business, you have to ask yourself plainly and simply, what are you in this business for? Because as humans, you know, we share this space, and, you know, I want you to, in your mind, name a business that does not affect someone else. We live and we exist and we cross each other's paths every single day. And, you know, the way that we become professionals is that successful professionals, is that we find the thing that we're super passionate about, that we want to do that helps other people. Again, we don't run a business that does not involve others. Like, it's just something that we do as humans. So ethics is a huge part, and it's intertwined into everything that we do. And again, back to defining it simply, you know, when you start a business, ask yourself, what are you doing this for? And if your answers are completely selfish, I can tell you that you're going to cross that line of ethics at some point. It's going to happen. When you start offering services that you know are going to detriment somebody else but benefit you, you have crossed the line of ethics. That is a cross line. That is a huge red flag. Like, you know, again, taking this outside of tarot into the gym business, I know that I talk about it a lot. That's my huge reference. That's the world that I've lived in for the last 10 years. When, you know, we went through a period in the gym business where, you know, to drum up business, we were literally calling people and lying to them, saying that we were running specials that we weren't, you know, telling people that the price we had right now to join the club is a special right now, and that you won't get this price after, you know, this open house is closed or whatever. And that's, you know, it may get people into the door. And let me circle this around and talk about tarot. So as a tarot reader, you know, what I would consider to be an unethical tarot reader, and Nico talked about this a little bit. To get somebody in the door, you tell somebody that they have a curse and you have to see them right now, and you have to, you know, they have to give you $250. Well, that's going to you know, you may scare somebody. You may find that person that absolutely works for, and they may get them into the door, and you may get that $250 from them, right? Because you have scared them. You have used an unethical practice in your business. You have scared them, and you have, you know, gotten that initial money. When they find out that was a scam, that business for them is absolutely over. And not only over for them, it's going to be over for anybody that that they speak to. Again, word of mouth. We keep saying word of mouth is huge, especially for a business like ours, and especially for a circle like ours that is so small. And you know, every little thing matters, every little thing counts, because we can either come together, we can build each other up, or we can tear each other down. And everybody that comes through with ideas in their mind of selfish intentions in this business affects everybody. And you know, and it's not fair to us. And the reason that I get super passionate about it and I get super heated, and I can tell you that I'm sweating a little bit starting to talk about it, because the part where it really just, you know, puts fire under my butt is when we start talking about, when I look at other, and again, I'm going to go back to my other hat and talk about the gym business. When I see a trainer that is training, you know, multiple clients at the same time, when the client has paid for undivided attention for the next hour, and I find out that they're making more money than I am, or, you know, when they are charging more than what they're supposed to, so that they don't have to cut as much for the house for the gym to take for them for that session, or whatever it is, whatever that they are doing that they know is not correct, and they are still being successful, it discredits those of us who are doing it the way that we know is correct and ethical and right. And that's not fair. And not to sound like a 3-year-old when I say that, but it is not fair. We have taken the time, we have honed our craft, we have invested into our business, which is another point that I want to bring in. I think a huge part of running a business is that you have to be able to invest in it. You have to want to spend money on your business. And I say that talking to ethics, because the more that you learn, the better choices you can make with your business, with your clients, with your querents. So it is so important to educate yourself, and to have, you know, you want to have as much crammed into your toolbox. Arwen said this beautifully on our live broadcast on Monday. You don't want to have just one thing in your toolbox. You want to stuff it full with as much stuff as you can, and that it has everything to do with ethics. Because again, the more you arm yourself, the better choices that you can make towards your business. And I could keep rambling forever, so I'm going to throw it back off to Avalon.
That was beautiful, Chase. And I think you hit another really great point. See, everyone's just bringing up some really excellent points here. And that is the concept of a business. Like, we run our own businesses. We are professional tarot readers. We're not like part-time tarot readers. We're not like, I only do it on the weekends tarot readers, or every Christmas for grandma tarot readers. We are professional tarot readers. And we do run a business, and we do make money. We pay our bills. We feed our family, we register our cars, we do what we do to make sure that we're working within our passion sphere, and we're very blessed to be able to work within our passion sphere. And so personally for me, and this is me speaking for myself, if I were to jeopardize my business, the quickest way that I could do that would be to behave unethically towards my clients. And so I love and adore sharing sacred space with beautiful clients. I really do. I feel really uncomfortable calling them clients. Sometimes I call them seekers. Sometimes I just call them beautiful souls, because I feel very awkward with the concept of clients. But I do have them. I read for other people. I read from people all over the world. I share sacred space with other people. And in that moment, in that time, in that place, that is magic to me. That is sacred space. And what I do within that sacred space is I am 100% focused on that individual, and I make sure that that individual is safe, is comfortable, is, you know, in an environment that they can be at peace with, that they don't have to worry or stress about, because privacy is a huge thing for me. And so I'm just going to state a few of the things that I do as an ethical tarot reader, and then I will encourage others to do the same. And so for me, personal boundaries are a huge thing as a tarot reader. I create boundaries between myself and my clients for a very, very good reason. I don't want those boundaries to be blurred, because then there will be conflict of interest. Likewise, I contain hard boundaries within the concept of sacred space. Nothing spills out. After a reading, when I'm sharing space with a client, nothing spills out. There's no conversation later with another person about what happened in that reading. There is no sharing of personal information. You know, confidentiality and privacy are huge for me. And in every single one of my client sessions, I emphasize that emphatically, because I do want that individual to understand that they are within sacred space. And if they have something that they want to share, whether live or, you know, beforehand, if they want to share that, then they can, and they can feel very secure in doing so. Every finding within a reading is confidential, is held to the most strictest privacy clauses that I can muster. Now, I'm a person, in my previous life, I used to work for a stockbroking firm, and we had the tightest confidentiality and privacy agreements known to man. So I had 10 years of like learning to be very tight-lipped about things, and that is something that has served me really well as a tarot reader, because we do deal with very sensitive subjects. Now, I personally don't do third-party readings either. I will not do a reading for an individual who is not present. I don't believe in snooping behind the scenes. I do that with my family. I personally do that with my own family. That's where I draw the line. So I'll be sneaking some cards going, how's my family going? Because they live overseas, and I'm nosy. I want to know. You know, I want the goss. But that's where I draw the line. So no third party readings. I've actually got, you know, I've got tons of tiny little things that I do to make sure that my clients are really comfortable. I don't upsell. I don't upsell during a reading. That's a hard no for me. If you're coming for a tarot reading, come for a tarot reading. You're not going to sit with me in sacred space, and I'm not going to give you a tarot reading and go, well, actually, before I can proceed, you need to buy XYZ or spend money on XYZ, or after the tarot reading is done, you need to XYZ this and go to this person. I do refer people on if I believe that there are other practitioners of different modalities out there that I believe will be a benefit to them. And so I do. And I make sure that whoever I'm referring that person to is someone that I know very well, and someone who I know is quite ethical. And so that is where I draw the line in that regard as well. I mean, we all have our code of ethics, and they're very strict. And each and every time the year revolves, I'm adding new little clauses to my personal code of ethics. And that comes back to what I was saying before. You know, each and every reading that I do will teach me something, will give me something to think about. And I'm like, oh, hell, I don't read for minors. I don't read for intoxicated people. I don't read for unstable people. And I will, if I feel it's necessary, I will insist that they seek personal medical attention or professional help in any regard. You know, I don't do those sorts of things. I will read for a minor if the responsible adult is present. That's where I draw that line, and they have to have consent in that regard, you know. So I don't read for intoxicated personnel, which is why I never ever do tarot parties, because here in Australia, all people like to do when they get together is fucking drink. And so there's no baby blessing. It's like, let's get drunk. There's no, let's have a nice little picnic on the beach. No, it's let's get drunk at the beach, you know? And so we are a drinking culture here. So I know if I'm going to go into a party scenario as a tarot reader, that I'm going to see some drunk people. And I do not want to read for intoxicated people. I do not want to read for people who are on drugs. And that's why I don't read at festivals, because we like to party. We're popping the pills left, right, and center. We like a good time, you know, an out of our mind good time. So I don't read at festivals. I don't read it at parties for that particular reason. And so I might stop it there, because I have a few more that I could keep going on, but I'm going to hand it over to Nico. We're going to go in the same order again. And so Nico's going to outline some of his personal ethics, some of the things that he does, and you know, and see if we can't fill the gaps of the things that I've personally missed. There's some also I've just got to throw out there to our beautiful viewers at the moment. There is some extremely tasty chat going on down the side here. Ancient Visions 9 said she had a woman come to read for her. She had a terminal illness, wanted to know if the terminal illness would come back. Like, that's full on. They're the type of questions that you need to draw that line on. Likewise, you know, there's a few others. So there's a few other really good ones in there. So I encourage you to read the chats. Nico.
Some of those were very haunting scenelets, Avalon, I must say. I mean, just I'm imagining people walking around with the little, well, we have little yellow bottles, little orange bottles of pills here in, you know, in America, just on shakers on belts as they walk through the farmer's market. Anyway, I guess as let's meat and potatoes this. When we talk about how we introduce ourselves, you know, and how do we introduce ourselves to people? How do we bring our, how do we let people know who we are? You know, I mentioned in the comments, you know, before, I think that one of the best things about now online, it's great that things are online, and it's also bad that things are, you know, are so big, you know, so vogue. But the good thing about it is, I think it's a very reasonable explanation now that every reader have a body of work for reference. You need to be able to know your reader. You know, I mean, Avalon, you and I have been, you know, professionally doing this for years. I think that, you know, I mean, it got to the point where if I wanted to have a personal spiritual channel like Scarlet Moon Magic, that was necessary, because Scarlet Moon Online, the one I'm logged into right now, got, you know, it's all exclusively horoscopes now. You know, you've got an extensive body of work. You've got this, and you've got, you know, you've got everything that you're actually doing, you know, in Australia that we don't see behind the scenes, you know. So I think that if you are curious, look at that person's body of work. And I look at people's bodies of work when I am looking for a reader. And I don't look at personality contests first and foremost. I am a different kind of reader. You know, one of the things that I'm not saying I'm any better than anyone else. I'm just saying I'm not new age, I'm old age. I'll put it that way. You know, when I talk to people, brand new people, I'm like, look, I am not the new age guru in the penthouse in LA. I am the witch in the woods. There are the woods, you know, there's, you know, and basically what I am all about, you know, is making sure that people get straight talk, straight answers, forewarned is forearmed. The kind of conversations you have with me are exactly like the ones you see when we are doing a reading on one of my horoscopes, you know, not in that format, but my style. You've got my personality. And basically, it's just straight talk, the same thing you would get if you were hanging out with me on the back porch having coffee and a cigarette, which means I am not above giving bad news. I'm not going to sit here and pull the 10 of swords and say, like, well, it looks like next week's about coping with stress. I'm not going to dilute things, because to me, doing no harm means giving them full and complete information, not giving them an opportunity to still get blindsided, even though they paid you to tell them what's up. I do actually do fortune telling readings. That is my thing that I do. That is what I excel at. Yes, I do emotional discovery work. It eventually gets in there anyway. I do tend to focus a bit more on, you know, however, hard, crystallized intentions. I tell people to bring those. I don't upsell. If anything, I downsell, if that's a word. You know, I always check with people, look, hey, when you do tarot and astrology, information comes super fast. Okay, so you're asking one question for 15 minutes? Are you sure you don't want to get a few more things in there? You know, I'm not a huge fan of super general stuff. You know, I'm not one of those readers who just goes on and on and on. This is about you. This is the questions you want to ask. I will do third-party readings because they're probably Facebook stalking that person anyway. So I might as well guide them through it so they don't do something silly. It's like, okay, your kid is going to drink. Why don't they just drink in your house so you can keep an eye on them and they can be safe? That's my way of looking at things. You know, I think also a good point that that Chase made when it talks about, you know, people doing fake specials, people talking about what are you in it for? How are you doing? How are you promoting your business? You know, we got to look at, there's a problem, I think, in our society, especially in this community, where there's an exploitation of tropes and an exploitation of what is pop culture in the spiritual community. Twin flames, lottery tickets, the law of attraction, and, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. That is the new curse. That is the new hex. That is the new dark magic. And I think not those topics in and of themselves are not, but the exploitation of those things is, you know, and we've got a lot of, you know, and I'm, like I said, this is the witch in the woods talking, you know, when we talk about the, you know, when we talk about real chat, we need to talk also about, well, what are you in this for? Good point, Chase. What are you in it for? Sometimes you get people who are jumping into this because they're doing, it's for their therapy. You know, if this person is maybe 2 steps ahead of you in their personal journey and they want to go out and be your life coach, they better have a body of work so you can see when they're, you know, so you can time their spirals, you know, because I don't think that you should be going to somebody for all that, you know, that tender love and care, self-love advice, and you find out they've been, you know, their life is a body of experiments unconcluded. We got to be able to own that shit, you know, and then we've got to enforce that standard. We all had bad days. We've all put up nasty vlogs. We've all put up rants. We've all done those things. But you got to beware the lifestyle guru in this situation as well, especially because, you know, there is a situation where nowadays fake it till you make it is a real big deal. And some people are training people to do it. And I say, you know, just like there's another witch. I can't speak Welsh very well. Okay. I don't. My pronunciation of Welsh is horrible. Is it Tetlewyn Penry? Do we know who she is? I'll put her name in the chat.
She is. She's fabulous. Just fabulous.
Effing fabulous. I almost actually swore for that one. And she, in one of her videos, she said, you know, I don't believe in fake it till you make it, because you deserve better than to know you are kidding yourself. And that is one of the most important things I think that we can give people, is authenticity in that respect. You know, giving people strength for, you know, and also bringing our full selves to the forefront. My ethics, I think that I displayed them right now in that ranting, rambling, spiraling speech. You know, I personally have more, the cards, the craft, my spirituality come before me. I've had readings with people where the situation is ethically questionable, you know, by my standards, but I'm not going to moralize to that person. I didn't come, my job is not to be moral. My job is to be helpful. And I draw a distinction. So if somebody is already having an affair, all right, what are they trying to do? Well, it's time to help them minimize collateral damage and, yes, finish the situation, wrap up the situation that is actually going to be the best for all concerned. It's not about browbeating people, right? It's not about that. When we talked about oracle cards being a problem, you know, oh, remember that the part where, you know, I was saying if somebody's having, you know, is worried about cheating on their partner, and then you pull the oracle card that says go out and play, you know, how bad is that? You know, so the situation, you know, that kind of comes out of that is sort of like, you are there to help somebody. You're not there to promote an agenda. I've dealt with people with diametrically opposed political factions, diametrically opposed religious beliefs, you know what? And they still come. And I think the reason that they still come is because they know professionalism means do a good job for this person, help this person, do no harm, but do no collateral damage either, and don't make it about you, whether it's your politics, your religion, or, you know, or your healing journey. Because if you're cross-contaminating your empowerment journey, your healing journey with somebody else's life, hang it up. That's all I got to say right now.
Excellent points. You're getting a lot of like whoop whoops out there. So you nailed it, Nico. You're absolutely right. You know, there is no room for your personal agenda within a tarot reading. And if you feel like you know the question when it's coming, they're coming to you saying, look, you know, there's an affair situation here, etc., etc. No need for details in that regard. You then decide, holy shit, can I be non-judgmental here? Can I hold space for this person, even though I believe that this is morally corrupt? Can I do that? Is that something that I'm capable of? And if for 1 second you feel like you're not capable of that, then refer them on. Know your limits. Knowing your limits is really important as a tarot reader. Knowing where you draw the line. That's your boundaries. It's really important. Because if you open up that space to that person with the understanding that you believe that they are morally corrupt, then that energy will filter into a reading, and you will not be doing the best thing by your client. You will, in fact, be causing detriment to that client because you haven't been able to disassociate from the situation, you know, and that's something that is definitely relevant. And, you know, Nico brings up very, very tasty topics. But let us move on to the beautiful Ethony. And I'm sure Ethony's got lots to say on this regard. So let's hear this little tarot goddess speak.
Okay, I just had to whip out my Book of Shadows from when I was 15 years old. That I started when I was 15 on that, because I was just like, hell to the yes on so much of that personal agenda stuff. And it just reminded me, and maybe, again, I talked a little bit about our backgrounds and how we come to the tarot, and very much on what Tuals was saying about why we're in this. And I came from the tarot from my craft, from witchcraft. And there's a really beautiful poem called The Love of the Priest and the Priestess, and I can post it online later. You may come to them for a few moments and go away and do whatever you will. Their love is unchanging. You may deny them to themselves or yourself, then hurt them. They will listen. Their love is unchanging. And it goes on. It's quite long. But what this poem reminded me of is very much along the lines of, you will get people ask you questions about everything, things that you're uncomfortable with, things that you have experienced yourself that may trigger you, things that you have trauma over, or things that you don't agree with. Politics especially is very touchy, and things like affairs. If you have a very strong religious belief system, you are going to get confronted. So that is a really interesting thing you have. I totally agree. You have to get out of the way. Your job is to be of service and to create space. And I totally agree with about minimizing collateral damage and trying to help that person as much as possible without doing the shame nude walk, right? Like, you don't need to do that for people. I've been at corporate parties. I've read for people in all sorts of situations over the years, and I have had people. I've had a woman come to me. She was pregnant, and it was at a Christmas party, and she asked if there was going to be problems with the baby. Now, this is going to happen to you. I'm giving you a reality check here. This bitch has been slinging cards for over half my life, and this will happen to you, a situation like this. And if you are unable to find a way to deal with that, then don't do it. Just don't do this work. I'm sorry. I know that's really like the line, but if you can't sit in and be able to go, okay, I'm not a doctor. Like I said to her, I'm not a doctor. And unfortunately, I never found out what happened. But I was like, okay, how about we do the reading on something else? Because I actually just got a bit of a sick feeling when she started talking about it. So I was like, okay, let's try and move this along. I'm not a doctor. You really do need to make sure you're taking what your medical professionals are saying, and take care of yourself and your child first and foremost above everything else. But things like that are going to happen. So even having a prepared script or having a way of dealing with those can really help if you're not the type of person who's good at thinking on their feet. Likewise with affairs, I've dealt out cards and, it's plain, and I've just looked at the person, and thank goodness most people are pretty forthcoming, and people have said, yep, I'm having an affair. I'm like, okay, we can, talk about this, because I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, is it you who's cheating, or is it your husband? So you need to be able to, to have an idea, and I guess I'm kind of a bit floundering now because this is such a big subject. I've had people who were clearly interested in same-sex relationships, so are gay, and sitting with people in their family and turn the cards, and I've gone, okay, what do I say? And again, thankfully, that was something that was fixed automatically. She was like, it's okay, everyone knows. And I was like, okay, cool, we can talk about this, Queen of Cups, it's all good. But what do you do if they don't? What do you do if someone wants to bring someone into a reading, which I don't like, personally, not because I'm dodgy. I get everyone to record all my readings, by the way. And that's another thing. If someone is trying to say you can't record, or you can't take notes, or you can't go back and ask them questions, you can't reference them, you don't have testimonials, you can't contact any of their old clients, run the other way. That is some shady, shady, shady BS. Everything in mine is recorded. My email readings, my video readings, my Skype readings are audio recorded. I do not believe in being in the shadows about anything. So that's a big one for me. But yeah, and I teach, one of the things I teach in the academy is a thing on ethics. We actually have a lecture series on ethics, and I put questions to the students. This is a situation, how would you deal with it? This is another situation, how would you deal with it? And then I give them feedback on, maybe you can add this to your arsenal if you feel comfortable with adding maybe these points. But definitely get a good idea of how you want to deal with this. And thank goodness, Nico, you talked about getting out of the way with your own shit and, your own politics, your own agenda, your own, all that stuff. Like, that's not what we're here for. It's really not. So, yeah, that's all I had to add. I was just sitting here going, yes, when you were talking. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ethony. Thank you so much. You raised some excellent points there. I think you two bounced off each other quite well. You both brought a lot, to consider. And, Nicole, author Nicole in our chat also said, okay, so what's the thickness of our filters? And I think the answer to that question is very individual, one to the other. The thickness of our filter is based on the body of our work. Another thing that that Nico was talking about, you know, when you have experiences, you can cultivate that experience under a nice thick filter and go, okay, I know now what that feels like and whether or not I would like to interact in that capacity ever again. And so the longer your ethics list is, the thicker that filter is pretty much based on the body of your work. So a reader out there with ironclad list of ethics, you know that they have been around for a really long time, that they've met with a lot of different scenarios, and that they don't want to engage in those scenarios again for whatever reason. That's an individual's personal prerogative, and what's right for me is not right for you. And I think, you know, there's lots of things to consider in this regard as well. And so let's move on to the lovely Alora. Alora, have you got anything left to say after those two beautiful people have shared their wisdom?
What can I say? So I actually was writing, and so I was typing in chat and I was writing notes as Nico and Ethony were talking. Okay, so yeah, that's another thing with the body of work. So I am approaching this when I'm talking. I'm approaching this from a seeker perspective. So if I am, let's say New Orleans, because there's a lot of tarot readers down there. So let's say I'm visiting New Orleans and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in off the street and I'm going to get a reading, which would never happen because I'm a Virgo. But anyways, if I can't like see some testimonials, or if there aren't people around who've given permission to, you know, contact or come in or like vet you, I will run away quickly. Definitely. And something else Nico said was doing no harm. So, and he was talking about sometimes you're doing more harm by not saying the harsh truths to those that you read for. And, you know, and this is like a trend that I'm seeing in tarot all the way around, not just in, no, I'm not kidding. So, not just in readers and seekers, but like decks, I'm talking like all the way around. Something.
Talk about this. Talk about it loud.
So, well, it just, I'm not going to give any specifics, but it seems like tarot is getting watered down. Like people can't, like, I don't know if it's the socio-political environment that the world is living in now, that we can't face things head on. Like we can't deal, like we've become really, really soft. And we are sensitives, like, well, I know I am, and that sucks and it's hard to deal with. But at the same time, like, I don't need tarot to warm hug me, because sometimes I need my ass kicked, and sometimes I need to hear what I don't want to hear in order to get my ass to move. So yeah, like that, when he said that, I was thinking about tarot, the whole practice in general, and how disillusioned or disenchanted I've become with looking at, you know, some of the decks that are coming out, because I'm just like, this isn't tarot. Like what is this? Like, this is not tarot. But I mean, they're marketing them as tarot systems. And something else I wanted to address is, as a tarot reader, there will be days when you cannot and should not read for anyone. And that goes for, like, if you're emotionally discombobulated and like in the wrong headspace, if you sit down to read for someone, guess what? All those cards not going to be applicable to whoever you're reading for, because you're just going to be reading yourself over and over again, typically. So another thing on that is, like, if you're sick, like if you're really sick, that can affect a reading. Anything going on with you, like if you're in the wrong headspace, if you're not well, don't read that day. Like, just, you know, if you have clients, reschedule, tell them, hey, like, I just can't do this today. And if I did, it would be wasting your time and money, and I don't want to do that. So, and I'm ethical enough to come to you and say, your reading would not be the best that I could give you at this point. So can we please reschedule? And on the recording of sessions thing, that's something I totally agree with. And in fact, for me, I actually voice record. Like if I'm reading in person, I have a voice recorder, and I will say, listen, if you want me to, I can voice record this so you can have it later. And typically most people want it because they like having it to listen to as things progress, so they can, you know, gauge all the things that came up and all the different choices and options in their life and where it's gone. And then typically I've had people come back and say, okay, well, this happened. I listened to the recording, so let's do another one. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing this time? So, I mean, it's really helpful. That part's really helpful, not only for the reader, but the seeker as well. So I highly recommend it. And I know, Chase, you keep records as well. Yeah, but that wraps it up for me.
Yeah, that's like excellent points too. Like, because I read online, I have all of my videos unlisted online, and I give my clients the unlisted link. So it's a non-searchable video, and they have access to that as long as YouTube is around. And I tell them within that reading that I don't mind if they share that reading with another individual, just as long as that individual understands that we are in fact sharing sacred space, and that which is shared within sacred space is worthy of respect. And so, you know, I don't mind if they share it, and they can always hold me to that. They've always got access to that. But you said this, but you said that. Now, I'm non-predictive. I'm just a helpful motherfucker. I'm non-predictive, but I do my best, right? And so, you know, if they want to go back and go, okay, I'm gonna note down some of these exercises that she's suggested, some of these prompts, some of these meditations, etc., then they can look at that all the time, and that puts me at rest. That makes me feel easy. If it wasn't for that, I'd have to find another system where I could record myself. Now, as for the watering down of tarot, I'm so there. As I'm sure Ethony's another tarot deck creator, and I bet that she's received just as many messages as I have about trying not to make cards very scary. And I've got to tell you, I released my tower card for my deck, and I got a very, very interesting response to that one. Did I change it like people asked me to? No, I didn't. In fact, I wanted to go in there and just like, more blood, you know, but I didn't, you know, because that's not the idea. I'm not there to antagonize, but, you know, I did want to. And I do feel that by eliminating some of the harsh truth, some of the harder hitting cards, and trying to depict them as softer, then you are not going to be of benefit in a reading. So I can't read, for example, no, I'm not going to mention any tarot decks, because then I'm just going to start to entice rage. But I think if you can read my mind, you know the deck that's recently come out that I'm talking about, where every card in the deck is roses and rainbows and unicorns floating on Care Bears. So not helpful. Can't read with you. Not a tool that I can use. So just saying. Now we move on to Chase. Bring it home for us, bro.
That I can do, but I have to go back and say floating on Care Bears is probably the line of the night. Floating on, it just gave me the most visceral, like I saw it in my head of things on Care Bears also floating. Perfect analogy. So yeah, to get back on topic. So, you know, the way that I approach tarot, and, you know, like I've been saying with everything else, I'm going to sound a little bit, you know, like a broken record here. But the thing that I wanted to drive home, everybody else has said, you know, it's for me in my business that I run outside of tarot. So just to clarify, so I have a business that I run, a PT business outside of tarot, but I also have a tarot business. Both of them are, you know, a lot to do with really good luck and circumstance, but also a lot of hard work. They're both very successful and doing very well right now. But the thing that makes them successful together is that there are things that can be shared across both, as far as business is concerned, that makes both really run super fluidly and efficiently. And again, I say it now the third time to get myself back on topic. The thing that I want to drive home that everybody has talked about is about knowing your boundaries. I would not ever go into the gym and look at, you know, the bar that is holding 325 pounds and be like, I'm going to deadlift that. I know that I can't deadlift 325 pounds. Actually, I don't know what I can deadlift currently, but I know that it's not going to be 325 pounds. I know my personal limits. And so I would not, I'm going to try and, there's going to be a beep being sound here in a minute. I keep getting insane amounts of emails. There it is. Trying to hush that. Anyway, back on topic. So, you know, putting that over into tarot, if there's a situation that I know that I'm not comfortable reading in, you know, that's where it crosses a line for ethics for me. If I'm having doubt, that means that there is something in that I should not be doing. We all have that, especially, you know, if we consider empaths and people who, you know, are part of what I consider this awakening process, we have more than anybody else that voice inside of us that says we should not be doing this. And so, you know, when you choose the coin over, you know, that feeling of you shouldn't do that, that's when we have crossed, you know, our line of ethics. So that's something important to keep in mind, you know, when we decide who we want to read for. You know, we were saying, Alora was saying, you know, maybe on Sunday you know that today is not the day for people to be reading from you. Take that, use that, settle in that, and be okay with it. The most important part is that you have to be okay with your limits and your boundaries. People will respect you more if you are open, and that brings me to my next point. People will respect you more if you are open about what you can and can't do. Like, I love astrology, but I'm not an astrologer. I can't map somebody's, you know, natal chart. I can pinpoint parts of it, but, you know, just because I know a little bit of it doesn't, you know, make me a professional astrologer. And, you know, to come back to my second point. So people are coming to you wide open. They're coming to you to sort of, you know, tear their lives apart a little bit and to get answers from the most secret and sacred pieces of them. And so you have to ask yourself too, are you going to be as open as they are to you? Are you as open to them to receive that information and give the information that they need, that they are wide open to receive it? It goes both ways. There's an energy transference there that is huge, and it's bold and it's big, and, you know, it has to come from both places equally in order for it to work. And you know, I touched on a little bit about, you know, me knowing a little bit of astrology doesn't make me an astrologer. And I'm going to say this, and I come from a super loving place when I say this, and I love all tarot readers, and it takes so much to be a professional tarot reader. And, you know, I'm not going to discount that from anyone, but I do, because I touched on it earlier, and I want to expound on that now while I have the opportunity to. So I said earlier that we have to cram our toolboxes full. Arwen said it best Monday. The more information that we have for ourselves, the better decisions that we can make. That goes along, you know, every cultural, you know, the more education that we have, you know, when we put a bunch of smart people together, they just make better decisions. And so I have to stress the fact that I love everyone. The you know, sitting down with the little white book and learning keywords and then throwing a sign on a window that says now open, taking readings does not make you a professional reader. There is so much more to it. And you know, the fact that I don't want to discredit anybody, that you sat down and done that is incredible. That is such a brave, bold step to sit down and learn it, but that does not make you a professional tarot reader. It just doesn't. You know, and there's a recent, and I want to name an example. There's a recent, and of course, no names. We all on this panel, I think, know, you know, of a reader who we were experiencing together doing a reading, and, you know, she held up, I don't even know if I want to go into specific details. I guess I will, because it won't make sense if I don't. So she held up the Seven of Wands, and her reading was super simple. She said, "This is a victory card." And then that was it for the reading. It was like a tarot scope of some kind. And so for Gemini, let's say, their reading was victory, and that was it. That was it. And then so somebody came back on her and said, that's not it. You know, that there's more to that. And so she came back with a video that said, no, because she held up her little white book and said, "See, victory." And it's so much more than that. It's so comprehensive. Nobody's going to hold up a Seven of Wands, you know, somebody who knows their salt. And again, we are all credible readers. If we read, I'm not discounting anybody's knowledge and time and space and money that they have invested in themselves. That's not my point. But nobody's going to hold up the Seven of Wands in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck and say, you are going to have the best week ever. No, that is a challenge card. There may be a victory in that, and yes, it absolutely means victory, absolutely 100%. But there's trial with that. There's a story to that. There's a background to that. There's other cards to be read with that. You know, it's not just a victory card. Moving on. So, you know, being an ethical reader, you know, being really in tune with what ethics are, we can't list what we're ethical about and what we're not, and then expect them to stay static as we grow as readers, as we grow as people, as we grow as fathers, as we grow as pet owners, as we grow as car owners. Our list should change and grow with us. As our business grows, so should our ethics, because we're going to be put in situations where we may not have thought about. You know, we may think outside of a situation that we're okay with doing it, and then once it happens, we realize, oh shit, this makes me feel awkward. This makes me feel weird. I am not. You know, I am not comfortable in this situation, and it's okay. Again, knowing your boundaries is going to help you navigate and, you know, sculpt your way through that. And again, it's okay. And what you think is ethical when you're 30 is going to change. Well, let me say for personally, what I thought was ethical when I was 21, not ethical now as a 30-year-old. Like that changes with experience, and as we meet different people. And again, you know, it's been said, and I can't remember who said it, but we learn lessons from all of our queerants that come to us. And, you know, everything is a lesson. Life is a lesson, and we learn and we grow. And, you know, opening up a business and doing all those things, if you have to, and I'm saying this too, if you have to steal somebody else's idea to open up your business, it's not yours. It's not, you know, that's probably your first red flag that you should probably not be in this as a reader. You should probably choose something else, like maybe a thief, because not going to be a tarot reader. And my last point is that, you know, being open and honest and keeping records is another thing that I wanted to drive home. And then I swear I will stop talking, I promise. But, you know, I keep the thing, again, as a personal trainer, every one of my clients has a folder, and every exercise that we have done in every session ever, it has, because it measures, you know, where we started from and where we are now. We have to reassess and keep a track of what we've done. So I carry that over into my tarot business. Every client, every querent has a folder. So we have that checkup, and we can open up the folder. We can be very honest and open where we are, where we started from, and like we hope that we get repeat clients, right? That's a successful business. So, and we want to be very open like that, so that if somebody says, well, that wasn't right, well, I can open the folder and be like, well, you know, on this day, May 28th, we had a reading about this. You know, it's only been 2 weeks and you're still wanting another reading about that. You know, that's, you know, something that I don't do. And now I'm done. Back to you, Avalon. Thank you.
I think we can all give you a really good round of applause. I saw Nico just about launch from his chair, and I do think that he might have a little something to say regarding the education of a tarot reader, and how it's not just read one little tiny book and then call yourself a tarot reader. I'm sure that we can all say this. I seek consistent training to be a tarot reader. I buy books every damn fucking month, and I'm reading them. I engage with other readers in this capacity, all so that I can maintain my skills and I can add to my skills. I can learn different interpretations, because the truth of the matter is, when you begin learning tarot, it's 78 cards with 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion keywords, right? There's just so many keywords. None of those keywords are going to make sense until you understand why they have been attributed to a card. And you don't understand why they have been attributed to the card until you understand the essence of a card. And the essence of a card can take a lifetime to dissect, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. If you're shuffling up every single day and you're reading your tarot every single day, then you're going to get there quicker than someone who is just going to read a little white book and call that the thing that needs to be done, you know. And so consistent education is part of being an ethical tarot reader. Learning new ways to apply tarot is part of exercising your skill, your tarot muscle, if you will, and understanding that as tarot evolves through history, so too do the keywords that have been attributed to each card. What once meant something in the past will still have the same essence, but be depicted and given an entirely different keyword that is much more relevant to the now. And so if you're pulling up an archaic book from way back when and using only that as your reference, then you're not going to have too much success in this modern world as a tarot reader. But if you are a tarot reader who has read that really old fucking dusty book on the shelf, plus a few dozen others, plus had some conversations, plus taken a course, plus, you know, held and played with a few different decks, and you're going to have a much broader understanding of tarot from a modern perspective. And that's taking everything into consideration. So I think one thing that's important is be humble as a tarot reader. I do not know everything about tarot. I do not know. I do not know every single keywords. I know the keywords that work for me, you know, and I think that when you understand that and you know that there's room to grow in every capacity within tarot, then you're starting to get a clearer understanding of what tarot is. And tarot is the life map. It's a very, very big thing. So who have we got to go next? Actually, Nico, do you want to say something? Because you looked pretty damn enthusiastic.
Well, I think that what was killing me, and I don't really know you, Chase, and maybe we should get to know each other, but what was killing me was the effort you made to qualify your statement when you're talking to adults. I don't worry about being PC and coddling people. I don't do my work. I don't call, it's not the Scarlet Moon Priory or the Scarlet Moon Rehab Clinic or the Scarlet Moon Counseling Center or the Scarlet Moon Empowerment Academy. It's just, I read for adults and I have a minimum age because, well, you know, I want to talk to adults like adults. You know, and I was also flinching a little bit because Arwen in the chat bar below, she was saying, warning, judgy alert. And I was like, God, I hope you're being PC sarcastically because, you know, we got to get tougher as a community, you know, but also, I mean, just it's a part of raising expectations for ourselves. You know, we talk about raising expectations when it comes to our education, you know, learning more, getting more out of it. You know, one of the things that I noticed on my horoscope channel, which is actually the one that I'm signed into this chat with right now, is that sometimes I get people who are like, well, couldn't the moon also mean this? And I'm like, yes, but I'm the one reading it, not copying and pasting the definition for you, you know, and that's a very important thing. You know, it's kind of like what's going to come out when I do my tarot home study course. You know, and I'm teaching, you know, as somebody asked, well, is 3.5 hours enough to learn tarot? And I said, well, no, not entirely, but neither is one book. So a 3.5 hour DVD course that I'm making, I'm teaching you how to understand that these are symbols that jog your psychic faculties. I'm not PC. I don't say intuitive. It's not the gift of having a hunch. It's psychic. And you know, so I look at it as, you know, you're jogging that information. It's almost like jogging your memory. So the Seven of Wands is a victory card. What's behind that? Go deeper. What is the victory about? What is it regarding? What is that? What is jogging your psychic ability to give you the true message? You know, and I think that nowadays, again, everything has become cookie cutter. It's become vogue. It's become mainstream. The main issue is it's now attracted a lot of people who are in a lot of tough spots, going out, they're looking for either something that they can do, something that they can learn, something that can, again, work on their journey or work for money. Sometimes that is for them, you know, and they look for certainty, something easy, something I can homogenize and sell off, you know, and I know I'm kind of the Nico here, but I am the Nico here, but it's, you know, it's kind of being the Nico here, I hate to be Scarlet Moon about this, a bit incisive, you know, but it's the truth of the matter is, I think that we need to, stop trying to encourage paralysis of people's growth by coddling them and encouraging them to stay in that place.
That is on point, as per usual. Nico, I feel like your brain has a direct channel to my heart and the most inarticulate part of myself, because you somehow manage to articulate most, I wouldn't say all, but most of the things that I'm thinking, only you say it so much better. I've got a bit of speech envy right there for you, brother. I've got a bit of speech envy. Now, I have just been a little chatsy with Miss Ethony, and she's got some stuff that she would like to say about some of the conversation that is going on in our chat stream, and it is in relation to blacklisting and governing bodies and, you know, putting people on blacklists, etc., etc. So, Ethony, if you have an opinion, you should share it.
Oh, I have many opinions. I am one very opinionated woman. And I just want to also just say with Nico that I agree about this coddling, and we should speak to each other and speak to our community like adults. And I think that's what's happened, and I will get onto the blacklisting thing real quick, but what I think has happened since we've become more mainstream, since we've become in vogue, and since we've been in, you know, mass publications, and there's more of us in magazines and TV and movies and things like that, it's become more aligned with the new age community. And so it's been a little bit, we're all talking like we're children now, you know, and I agree with you yeah, I don't speak like that. I don't want anyone speaking to me like that. So I totally get what you're saying about that for sure. So blacklisting people, that is a slippery effing slope as far as I'm concerned. And not because I'm dodgy. Like I said, I record everything and I have a huge body of work on the internet for anyone to go and see. I feel like it's a difficult thing because we are then holding someone's judgment to be above everybody else's. Now, in an example, you can, with our Facebook groups, like if you are in the tarot marketplace Facebook group, there is a trusted lister selling, like a trusted lister list, right? And that's great because if you have a really good experience or you're in the tarot swap, you can say, I just had a really great swap with this person, and then therefore it helps the rest of our community. But that's a group thing. Where would we hold such a blacklist? Who would be the one to put people, judge, jury, and executioner of said blacklist? You know, I think that's a very well, I like the idea of it. I think that can become quite the shitstorm of people trying to derail people trying to be vindictive. Or I just had a fellow reader of ours who is a professional talk to me about someone who, because she didn't like what the outcome was on this relationship, she gave her a 1-star recommendation, but she did her job. She's a professional. She's someone I've known for many, many years and is a pro. So how do we then get around people who are just trying to derail someone's professionalism because they didn't like what they heard? So I feel like that's a very difficult thing to hold when we don't have a governing body, like I said before. I think we can facilitate a trusted network of people, and things like this really help, where you get to see our faces, you get to see our points of view, you get to communicate with us, we get to meet and chat and connect with each other. That helps. So I feel like if we can do more of the positive stuff in regards to keeping a really good network and a good community versus like, screw that person, like they're on my blacklist, I never want to X, Y, and Z. As a community, as a person, if you don't like someone, well then fine. But as a community, as a profession, I feel like that's a very, you know, and that's a very difficult thing. And I come from a HR background, so I know all about, you know, having to discipline people and have those conversations. Yeah, I think the blacklist was about readers, yeah. But that's just my point of view. I think we should facilitate more community, more let's get the good stuff out there, let's get the good people out there and give them exposure, and let's talk to each other and build each other up, and rather than the other way. I just think it's a slippery slope.
I want to add something really quick to that. So in there you were talking about how I can't remember what the exact sentence was, but you were talking about how we read the cards for, you know, a specific person. I think it is important to note, it is so important that we get paid to read the cards, not to make somebody like it or to change the message, or to, that is what we get paid to do. That is what we do. We read the cards. That's it.
That's exactly right. It's a thing. It is a thing. I'd like to put it out there about personal responsibility now. And at what point do you stand by and knowingly witness friends, potential clients, you know, people out there interacting with someone who you know is dodgy beyond limits, right? So the person who is so freaking dodgy, the one that holds up the card and says this means this, and then says it's $100, and before I read more for you, you're then going to have to buy a candle on my shelf and go over to my brother's store next door and get some mechanical work done kind of business, you know. The fact of the matter is there's a line there. And within the construct of tarot reading, just because you don't like a tarot reading, just because it didn't come out positively, that is not a reason to completely blacklist an individual. You know, like Chase said, you know, you're not there to make a person feel good. You're there to tell the truth and to help them. And sometimes telling the truth can be far more painful to hear than, you know, than one might initially expect. But at what point do you, as a reader and a member of the tarot community, see someone acting in such a way that it is I wouldn't exactly call it your standard charlatan, that's the uber charlatan. And at what point do you speak up? At what point do you say something? At what point do you mention that to your mate and go, hey, look, you know, I saw this really dodgy thing. You know, keep that in mind, what I've just said. At what point do you point out somebody else's artwork on somebody else's webpage? You know, when do you point out that kind of tarot plagiarism that can oftentimes occur? You know, when do you point out that you saw your friend who created a tarot deck create this beautiful tarot deck only to realize that somewhere in, you know, in Eastern Europe, someone's recreating that tarot deck and selling it, you know, a cheaper version of that? Like, at what point do you see that and say something? And at what point do you not get together with another person and go, okay, this is the dodgy list. We're putting down the dodgy list because this has been going on for far too long. Now, I agree there should be no one policing tarot readings, but I do agree that there is a sense of don't be a thief and make sure that you're not damaging another individual as a result of your unethical dealings. Now, we did speak about ethics. We have been speaking about ethics, and what is ethical in this country might not be ethical in that country, vice versa, etc., etc. But at what point? Where's the line? Where's the line? I would like to know for everyone, where's the line? Because I have a line. I have a pretty hard line, and I don't want to see someone being fleeced out of their hard-earned dollars. I don't want to see someone have the experience of going to a tarot reading and go, you have a curse on you and you're going to have to pay me $1,000 to get that curse off. That to me is a huge no-no, and I won't hesitate to comment on that factor. So at what point do you assume that responsibility to inform, to say something, to be a voice of truth, to be a voice to sort of help, guide, protect? Like, at what point? Nico.
I got a little bit confused, but I have a story for both. I have one where I had somebody actually stealing videos of mine. I don't know if y'all would remember. This was probably back in 2015. Somebody was actually downloading my videos from my horoscopes and actually posting them on their own YouTube and monetizing them and all kinds of those things. And, you know, what I ended up doing, funny enough to cope with it, is all I did was make it so, how to phrase it? What I basically did is I just did an opening in my videos, and, you know, where I just said, and if you are viewing this on so-and-so's channel, you know, subscribe to my channel, you know, instead. Because it's not just some, you know, some desperate piece of trash trying to make a quick buck, you know, because to pay off some other bad karma they have. And yeah, it's a bit mean, it's a bit judgy, but we're adults. And the situation that comes from that, you know, is that if you see somebody stealing your stuff, you know, the first thing I mean, people were letting me know what was going on, you know, and I didn't want to make a scene about it. I didn't want to, I didn't go and write a play. I didn't turn it into this, you know, this big thing. I just let it go and let it be, you know, after getting that switched around. And then I ended up getting a whole bunch of extra stuff. So that was great. And, you know, there have been some unfortunate situations where people will be taking things, I've got two friends that within the last year have had, you know, even pictures of family members stolen and used as, you know, as advertisements on their website. And so it's really strange to see, you know, but you've got to know how to actually just kind of confront that head on. And I honestly think making the least public confrontation is the better for that situation with that. In that moment, you know, again, in my situation, this person was actually stealing, you know, literally dozens of horoscopes, because I put them out by the dozen every week, and actually uploading them on their own channels. So in order for me to handle it, I basically just said, you know, just put it somewhere in the video, because this person, here's the thing, when it comes to thieves, they're broken, busted, you know, and probably very uneducated in that way. And, you know, they're not going to edit it. You know, they're not going to know where to put anything. You know, put a logo in there, put a watermark in your videos, put a watermark in your stuff, learn how to take care of it, learn the tricks of the trade. You might think you shouldn't have to do that, but you do. That's actually just smart. That's just smart branding for the first, you know, in the first place. Now, I've had situations as well where I've had friends I've had to call out for fraudulent behavior when it comes to their readings, when it comes to their classes, when it comes to the things that they're doing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they are basically, you know, posing as people they're not. Okay, you know, those types who are kind of, you know, they're going to take the, they're going to show you the one clean wall in their ratty apartment and tell you about, you know, how the law of attraction saved their life. You know, or you know, where you're going to gather all this information and how, you know, they're the expert, you know, healer and all the super, you know, and the crystal and all that, you know, everything like that. I've had to call out that kind of thing before, you know, and be like, look, again, I'm not going to humiliate you in public, but you're talking about the secret to like bliss and happiness and everything. And a lot of people can be taken in by this, especially if they're looking for more relief than anything else. And you are taking advantage of that. You're taking advantage of that. You're probably offering them a lot of hope speeches, or worse yet, you know, they're looking for somebody to be their leader, their teacher, and somebody to be accountable for them. And you are just raking it in, trying to be what I call the collector, you know, the mother and father of your little following. And they're going to, you know, and it's, so I've had to call out people for doing it to me. And I've had to call out people for definitely, you know, misrepresenting just exactly what they are, where they've been and where they're going, you know. And I mean, because this person would say, oh, I've traveled to China. They've never been to China. You know, she'd never been to India or any of those places. You know, this one person is like, oh, it's the gift of all abundance and happiness and all of those kinds of things. And I'm like, you're paying it. Your parents are paying you rent. Knock it off. You know, like, so there's a lot of, you know, I mean, if we're going to go there, let's go all over, you know, because that's how we're going to get it done. That's how we're really going to have this, all of this mean something. And so that's where I had to go with them. Again, I didn't blast her. I didn't, you know, tear her down in public. I didn't, you know, run the gauntlet up and down her Facebook wall or anything like that. I just had to, you know, had to be like, you're doing this. And, people are believing you. So are you going to offer somebody something of substance, or what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do about this? And just let it be.
It's definitely an important question. And I think that Eris Elizabeth, who's in our chat at the moment, she has brought up a really interesting point, and that is that further education needs to be given on the grounds of ethics, copyright, laws, etc., intellectual property theft and things of that kind, because the internet is such an unpoliced landscape, and it's a world within a world. We've actually created a world within a world, and that world within a world is so different to our reality, and a lot can go on in that world that is unpoliced. And you know, people wouldn't behave the way that they do on the internet out in the real tangible world. And I was watching a little documentary about this last night, about, you know, people feel that they can escape the moral ground by entering into the internet and just being, you know, a fucktard essentially. So it's definitely a thing that, because there is no way to police, then education is probably the first step. And it sounds so, I don't know, weak. It sounds so weak to say education is the first step, because education is generally the first step for everything. You want to assist another person to help themselves, then you need to educate them on how to do so. You want to make somebody understand that something is okay or not okay. You need to educate themselves to be able to recognize that, you know. And that's pretty much the only way that it can be done. These concepts of blacklists, I think that they're very functional. And I'm a vindictive person. I have a little black heart. I won't lie. I'm not sensible in most cases. I I have feelings. I have feelings, and my feelings flare up, and I get very, very irate when I see something that I don't like that crosses that line for me. And I don't have a filter in my mouth, and I am very good at arguing with people. And so I do engage. I will engage, and I do engage. And within that construct of engagement, it's not about being catty or name calling. It is about making my position known and making my opinion known in a manner that is going to be constructive, but it's going to be felt. First and foremost, it has to be felt, and it also has to be constructive. And if constructive doesn't work, then it's not beneath me to just name call. I'm not going to lie. I'm not Princess Di. I'm not classy. I'm not classy like I want to be. But you know, I do have a very big voice. I have a lot of opinions, and sometimes my opinions might clash with those of other people, and that's okay as well. But I think that while we're expressing our opinions, we're doing something good in that regard. While I'm expressing my opinions in whatever way that I know how, and somebody else is expressing their opinions to me in whatever way they know how, we are actually achieving something in that regard. That's an exchange. That's an exchange of ideas, an exchange of intellect, an exchange of like sassiness, but we're learning something. I'm learning somebody else's limits. They're learning my limits. I'm learning what's okay for them. They're learning what's not okay for me, etc., etc. These are even exchanges. And I think that voicing is very important. I am very proud to have a voice. I'm very serious about how I use my voice. I'm a voter, and I'm a passionate voter, and I think that it is a gift that we can vote, that we can speak, that we can articulate ourselves and express our opinions out into the world. And I think that there's responsibility there, and there's a lot of to use our voice correctly. And so it's not beneath me to use my voice in a manner that might seem a little harsh from time to time, that might seem a little bit, well, what the fuck did she just say? You know, it's a thing for me, and I will never apologize for using my voice in a manner that I feel will be beneficial to another human being or multitudes of other human beings. I don't mind that. You know, as a tarot reader, my main focus is honesty and truth, and I'll express my honesty and truth any way that I know how, whether it is accepted and liked or not accepted and disliked. That is just my status there. That's my thing. So I still have a cold, folks, and while we're all talking about this awesome stuff, I think we've covered a lot here. I think we have covered so much. We've even gone as far as giving examples. Now, tell me if you feel comfortable doing this or not, but would you like to give examples of some of the crap that you have found and some of the ways that you have found to navigate that crap? You don't have to be detailed. You don't have to name names, but just things to be wary of, to assist another person to be armed with information. This is in the spirit of education, as we've just discussed, to arm them in a manner that would allow them to, you know, first and foremost, like, pick out the dodgy behavior, and also to connect with a ethical tarot reader if that's what they want, particularly anyone who has had a really negative tarot experience and would like to turn that negative into a positive. This is your opportunity to arm, you know, our beautiful people here watching, our lovely people who are just like carving up that chat like nobody's business. You guys are awesome right now. Would you like to arm them with a bit of information? I assure you this is not something that needs to get catty. I think that you should be able to speak on this with an open heart and just, you know, share your wisdom in whichever way it comes out. Honor your voice, honor your truth, and be authentic when you speak. And it's okay to swear on my channel. I do it all the time. Don't censor yourself.
Hey, Avalon, do you have something to say?
Oh, I was going to say, could we go in reverse so I could go smoke, or else I'm going to cuss the whole way through, and I don't mean to. It's gonna come off snappy. It's gonna come off snappy anyway, and we're starting with a boy and finishing with a boy. But I figure if I go take the edge off now, it's not going to be like a fan of knives. It's really just gonna be more like prickly needles. So I think I need to go. You know.
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine, Nico.
Okay,
Well,
I know people like blunt, but I don't think people like razors. So I'm going to go dull the knife, smoke a minute. I'm going to turn off my camera. I'll be back.
All right, all right. Well, Laura, you were saying something, and if that's the case, if Nico's going to have his sneaky little ciggy, then maybe we'll go straight up to Ethony after you've had your little something to say.
Hi. Examples, I mean, I did have that little rant on Facebook, and I felt like this was a really good timing because I'm actually going to be doing a full video about how to tell if your tarot reader is trying to scam you. So that will be coming soon, and I'll make sure I'll link this too so that people can rewatch it. My big thing, besides listening to your intuition, but let's be honest with this too. A lot of people go to tarot readers in a time when maybe they can't hear their intuition. Maybe they're not feeling right. They're not feeling in a place of safe or secure. They're upset. They're looking for guidance. And that's a hard place because they're vulnerable. And, you know, we say, you know, listen to your intuition above all else if something sounds dodgy. But if you're in a space of crisis or emotion or needing help, you may be disconnected from that part of yourself. So that's just something to take into consideration too when people are like, how can someone get scammed? It's like, well, there's psychology behind it too. These people who do this as a scam, who do this to get money out of people for doing essentially nothing, they use proven psychological traps and methods to get these people to believe them. So it's not about victim blaming. It's not about thinking these people are stupid. It's actually, there is a science behind what these people are doing. One of my big things is that I say to people, Sherlock, get your Sherlock on. If you haven't noticed by now, I'm a massive freaking geek, for those of you who don't know me. Research the person you are going to read with. Google is your best friend. Like, you can look at their web presence, look at their feedback, get an idea of the kind of person that they are. Totally research it. And then I also am a huge believer, and like Eris mentioned before, education is super bloody important. The more we talk about this, the more, like I said, coming back to what I said right at the beginning, the more we say what we believe and what we think tarot is, and we share with our community and we connect with the right people, that's going to help us find the right people. But yeah, if anyone's trying to scam hundreds of dollars out of you, they're making you codependent, they are taking your power away, if they are disempowering you in any way, shape or form, I'm sorry, I'll call that person out as being full of shit. Now, there is a difference between someone who is a predictive reader and says the cards are indicating that this is going to happen, and you may not like that, but then they can say, oh, but here's what you can do within that. Here are the choices that you have. Here are the options. Here are the roads. Here's how you can take your power back. This is how we can help. But if someone's taking all your power away and saying, I am the Lord as far as you are concerned, and you need to come back to me, and I need to take jewelry and things from you and money, and then that is someone taking your power away from you. And if that is happening, they are full of crap as far as I'm concerned. But let's not victim blame ever when it comes to people scamming people and ripping people off, because it is a science and an art, and if it didn't work, people wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, that's just my thing. Let's talk to each other, and yeah, that's it.
Yes, very, very nicely put there, Ethony. I think the conversation always needs to be had. It's something that needs to be had regularly. Sorry, very stiffly. Regular conversations, great conversations with like-minded readers, these types of broadcasts that we're doing now. I would like to emphasize this is not from a place of ego. Nobody here is speaking from a place of ego. We are speaking from a place of wanting to share our wisdom so that you can in turn be educated enough to go out there and find the services that you need that are ethically aligned to you, so that you can find your version of an authentic tarot reader with all the quirks that you need to have a really positive experience within that construct of tarot reading. So you know, take all things into consideration here, and just know that we are speaking from a place of truth and authenticity for each and every one of us. We are not trying to mold your mind in any way. We want you to critically think. We want you to be informed. We want you to understand that there are ethical tarot readers out there, and they aren't that hard of a resource to find. But as you are looking for an ethical tarot reader, you will also come across people who are not ethical. They're not ethical in my opinion. They're not ethical in your opinion. You'll find a full spectrum of non-ethical there. I don't know if they're really ethical to the holy shit. Did they just say this? You know, and you'll find that spectrum. It's about weaving through that spectrum and finding that person that is right for you, that tarot reader that is right for you. Does anyone else have anything to say before we start to get to that process of pulling some cards for some amazing people?
Yeah, just one more thing. To add really quickly. So, you know, you were talking about ego, and I think that's a huge thing that does not have a place in what we do. You know, it is, if you are coming at this with any sense of ego, then you are not fostering a place. You're not sharing a space with somebody truly and honestly, and you know, that could, you know, very much get into ethics. If you're not holding a place that is, you know, free of judgment. Because if you have an ego, let's talk about, you know, what an ego makes you do. An ego makes you judge people. Well, because you think you're better than, and the things that you do are better than, and, you know, it puts you into that place. And if that's where you are, you're not going to help anybody. You're not going to build anybody up. You're not going to give anybody keys to success. You're going to hold them for yourself because you think you deserve them, because you have an ego. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was about the blacklist. And I don't want to like reopen that topic, but the input that I wanted to give regarding the blacklist, it's funny that we were talking about, you know, where does the line get drawn when we're talking about calling out somebody else on their bullshit and, you know, not doing it correctly and bringing everybody else down. I think that it is important for those of us who are doing this for the right reasons, that we somehow, there has to be a way to call somebody out professionally on someone who is not, you know, being ethical in their business practice. Because unfortunately, there are, you know, like in a lot of other businesses, if a gym opens up and they're not ethical, guess what? Eventually they will close their doors, because that's the way karma works. But in this business, you know, we deal with, I think somebody talked about this already, we deal with vulnerable people. And so we have those people that can be convinced that they are cursed, and we have those people that will, you know, shell over $1,000 just because, you know, they want to break the curse, and, you know, they get talked into doing these things again because people are left wide open for us, and so they get taken advantage of. So I think there has to be a way that we can, you know, for lack of a better term, put them on blast, but it has to be a very professional way. And in that, for calling somebody else out on their lack of ethics, we cannot compromise our own ethics. So I think there is a way. We just really have to sit down and, you know, talk about it. And I think it has to be very community driven. There cannot be a single voice, and I don't mean just one person. You know, it's got to be more than just a single voice telling people this is what it is and this is what it isn't, because then again, that brings in ego, and that ties both of these topics together. So, you know, we just have to be in this very ego-free place. So everything just has to be, that's why this is such a beautifully community-driven industry, and that it is because, you know, we are, I keep using the word, we are, you know, awakened to our surroundings and feelings and emotions, and we feel everything, and we are intuitive in that nature. So yeah, that was all I had to say.
Perfect. A great little additive there. You spoke really well on some of those little points. Sorry, I'm stuttering because my throat will not clear. It's a really awkward sensation to try and talk with any kind of eloquence where you're like, you know, that's really what you want to do. So I apologize that I'm so snotty at the moment. But Alora did want to say a few little bits and bobs. So let's hand over the mic to Alora, and then we will get our tarot cards ready, and we are going to start doing a few little readings and lift the energy. Let's lift the energy, because we have been speaking about some really heavy topics, and, you know, they're necessary to be spoken about, but they do put, you know, a lot out there to think about, and you can mull over that for a really long time. So let's go to Alora, and then we'll start to do some readings. If you do have a question that you would like us to explore, then please put them in all caps. All caps, please. Your question in all caps, and then we will start.
Okay, so I just wanted to address, there were 2 comments in the chat, and one of them was Matthew. He said, would love to hear about how each of you has had your ethics change over time. How did they develop? So for me, for myself, you know, I started with tarot cards when I was 9 years old. Doesn't mean I started reading at 9. I think I really started reading when I got to my teenage years. But having, you know, all of that background and coming up, like, it was never with ethics in tarot reading. It was never something where, like, once I decided, okay, I want to do this in professional capacity, I really kind of sat down and was like, you know, it was a very serious thing for me. Like, I didn't just say, well, you know, I'm just going to go read cards for other people, because there was a very long time where I didn't read anybody's cards except for mine and like my mom's or my brother. So, I mean, that for me, that was just from the moment that I decided that I was going to read for other people that I did not know. That's the moment I decided there needed to be guidelines for myself and so forth and so on. I mean, I always had them, even when I wasn't reading for professionally, but it wasn't something that I needed to keep, you know, super close track of, because, you know, it's me and my family. And so it's not like this is, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but in that respect, yeah, that for me, that's how that went. And then Random said, how do you deal with family or friends wanting readings all the time and draining your energy to read for your customers? For it's a hard topic. Okay, so the long short of it is, when it comes to family and friends, you have to have personal boundaries, just like you do with your seekers, querents, clients, whatever. You know, because family gets, you know, our families can kind of take advantage of things like that with us, because, you know, you're family. And that's just like, you know, when you've had a bad day, the person you're going to probably take it out on is the person that you're closest to. So I would just say reinforce your personal boundaries. Like, you know, come up with like, hey, like once a week I'll do this, or once every 2 weeks, but, you know, I'm not going to do this over and over. I would say that. And then when it comes to, y'all are typing so fast, I'm losing the questions. And then she said, what was the other part of that? Oh, draining energy. Hold on. You guys are typing and I lost the question again. Okay. Draining your energy to read for your customers. So with that in mind, if you're doing readings professionally, it's an energy thing. And so, like, I would reinforce things like meditation, cleansing baths, crystal grids, things of that nature that help build up your energy, anything. Playing music a lot, that helps me. If you guys saw the other day, I posted a super silly lip sync video because, like, just as a joke, because I had lost like my creative flow and my energy was down. So I was like, all right, I just gotta work it out. I just gotta work it out for a minute. So yeah, but anything that you do in your personal practice that cultivates and builds your energy, that's what I would recommend when it comes to losing energy to read professionally. Because it's going to happen. I mean, good Lord, if you sit down and you read for 10, you know, 8, 10, 12, 15 people in a day, that's exhausting. That's exhausting. And yeah, definitely, you know, do the things that you would normally do that pump your energy back up. And also, another thing you have to be careful of, especially if you're sensitive, if you're empathic, shield. Like for me, I can't, you know, I'm open with the people that I read for, but prior to, afterwards, cleansing, making sure like my personal shields are up for my energy body, and yeah, just cleansing everything before, after, so forth, so on. And I don't know how many of you will like get this lingo, but every person you come into contact with, you create an energetic cord. And so when, like, if you read 14, 15 people in a day, another thing that I recommend is grounding, centering, cutting all those cords and releasing that back into, you know, back into the earth, ground it out, flush it, if you will. That's another term that comes to mind. But yeah, I just wanted to answer those two questions.
All right, perfect. Sorry, Nico. Ethony's going to have to go and collect her little fella soon. So I would like for us to be able to move forward with answering some of these questions. I have been, you know, trying to keep up with the flow of questions and then typing them into our own private chat here. So we are going to get at them. At the rate we have, as such, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4 here so far that I have managed to to collect, and Anthony has just submitted another one. Anthony, could you please explain what you mean by RE reading querent? Can you yeah, okay. So because there are quite a few, would each of you like to take one, to do one rather than to build on the reading? Otherwise that will take a lot longer, and that way everyone's going to have the opportunity to have a little card pulled, and it's going to be nice and quick and nice and fast. So you know, keep it succinct essentially. So the first one, hang on, wait, I went through all of that and then didn't do anything. Question, and this is from Tori. What do I need to know about my art exhibition this weekend? Ethony, I might pass this one on to you because you do have to go, and so it would be good for you to do one or two at this rate.
Okay, so what do you need to know about your art exhibition this weekend? First of all, congratulations. That is amazing, putting your art out there. I was shuffling before, so I'm just going to... Alrighty. Okay, so I've pulled 4 cards for you. The first one is you. I've got the Queen of Cups. It's going to be an emotional time. It's a part of your soul, and a part of who you are as a creative person is going to be on display. The Queen of Cups is actually interesting in a lot of cards in the tarot as well, as she's one of the court cards that has her cup usually sealed over. It's one of the only cup cards in the court where she's not having an open card. So just being sure that you're keeping your emotions in a place that feels healthy, that you're balancing out that for yourself. As much as you can embrace this and enjoy the moment, because the second card, which I had what to do less of for you, is the Ten of Swords. And this is, you've done the work. You know, the last thing that your Queen of Cups wants you to do is spend the entire time looking for things to do, like nitpicking at what you should have done better, you know, tearing apart your work or putting yourself down or keeping yourself busy. It's like, enjoy the moment, enjoy the time. You've done the work, and that was exactly the message that I got when I turned this over, is that you've done the work, so enjoy what you've done. And then the outcome for you, so if you can let that go, if you can let go like the expectations of yourself, if you can enjoy the moment, if you can allow this to be an expression of who you are. We have the Ace of Cups, so it's going to be quite an amazing opportunity for you creatively. I do see also that you'll have to let me know how it goes, because you also got the Lovers as your final card. And I'm going very fast with this, so if you want me to go back on it, later, you can just hit me up. You have the Lovers card, and I actually see that there's going to be an opportunity, a creative opportunity, a creative partnership. The Lovers being a card of choice and partnership. So you may actually have something come out from this exhibition that you may not have expected, that's going to lead you to working with some new people and more work. Maybe some commissions, or maybe a different exhibition or a different body of work. So congratulations. I feel like it's going to go beautifully.
Thank you so much, Ethony. That was beautiful. And by the way, guys, did you notice the sexy deck that she was holding up? Ethony, would you just like to give the name of that deck, please?
This is my new Bad Bitches Tarot. It's going to be out very soon. It's my new tarot deck, so I'm using that tonight. These are like the first readings that I've done with it, so yay!
That's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, so I just have to keep up with this. Holy guys, just stop it. Stop it with all your typing. All right, so that was Tori. We are moving on now to Samantha Menzo. By the way, Sammy is I just Sammy'd you. I don't even know you, but I Sammy'd you then. So that must mean that we're friends now. She is a fellow YouTuber and a lovely one at that. I would love it if you could go and subscribe to her channel. In fact, I would love it if you would subscribe to everybody in the panel's channel, because as you can see, they are amazing. I don't need to sell them to you. They are just awesome. And so Samantha would like to know, what should my focus be on for this upcoming summer season? So who would like to take this one? Who would like to take Sammy's? Can't help myself. I'll pick Chase. No one decided, so I just picked. See how that works?
I wanted to step up and I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to be the guy that like took all the readings for everybody, because everybody knows how much I love doing this, right? Because I was going to step up for every single one and be like, me, my turn. And the next one, me, my turn. This is what I do best. So repeat the question for me one more time, just so I have it very clear and very...
Okay, the question was, what should my focus be on for this upcoming summer season?
Okay. Ooh, okay. So what I have drawn for you is the Hierophant. That is, for me, a very studious study card. So this is going to be about learning something new. This is about getting outside of yourself, and this is about, you know, getting worldly. I feel like the Hierophant card could easily lead to, you know, a next card being like the World card, which we consider as a very studious, study, travel kind of card. So this is a really good time for you to learn something new, maybe something that maybe hasn't interested you before, but it lies in therein. Can I talk? Therein lies some answers for you, and learning some new knowledge. So this lets me know too that whatever you choose, you are going to pick up super easily. So maybe now is the time to pick up a new hobby, you know, you've been thinking in the back of your mind, hey, maybe I should do that. Now's the time.
Lovely. Now we have, oh, holy doolies. Okay, we have Creative Coffee. This is Creative Coffees. I love that. How sweet is that? Creative Coffee. I get very creative when I drink coffee. Anyways, why does tarot not vibe with me? Who would like to take this one? Nico, you're up.
Figured I would take this one. I normally don't. I mean, this will be different. This is different. You know me. I'm definitely more fortune tellery. So the whole personal discovery thing, I don't tend to brand myself as, but we'll see what comes out. So let's have a look. So why is it the tarot does not vibe with Creative Coffee? What is the issue? Creative Coffee, why doesn't tarot vibe with you? What is the issue with Miss Creative Coffee? Or Mr. Creative Coffee, I shouldn't presume the gender. What is the issue, the impediment? What is the solution? Or what is the alternative? And all this needs to be known. Let's find out. Well, this is pretty cut and dry. So to be frank, the Seven of Pentacles reversed and the Page of Wands reversed is actually saying here that I think the reason the tarot doesn't necessarily work with you is it might not supposed to be working for you. You know, to be honest, with the Seven of Pentacles reversed, I often see this card as something where you do need to be okay with dropping something that may actually be not a sound investment in your time. And the Page of Wands reversed is actually saying that you need to go and pick up a craft or pick up a skill that you actually abandoned recently. Or something that you started that you were good at, but you flaked out on it. You got distracted. You got pulled in another direction. And you were actually quite good at it with the Page of Swords upright. You've already got a mastery in something else. You know, when we talk about something else, it could be runes. It could be, it could be astrology. It could be mediumship. You've got something else actually that you already know how to do, but you want to do tarot. You like tarot, you're attracted to tarot, and the Page of Wands reverse is actually saying tarot is a distraction for you that you may actually want to avoid. The Two of Wands reversed and the Magician card reversed are also saying as well, you know, with these two cards being the major blockage, I think, the Two of Wands reversed is, you know, to me always shows up as a card that kind of cues when people are, there's something lost in translation, I think, with, you know, with what you're doing. And the Magician card reversed is also indicating that you may want to actually pay attention to where, again, this skill set, tarot itself, may not necessarily be all it's cracked up to be for you. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. As far as an alternative, again, everything is already going back to something. I'm not sure what this is. This is something you've done before. This is something that you studied before. Tarot seems to be something that you are trying to force to happen, but you've already been shown something else. You know, that's kind of like, a lot of this reminds me of when I was younger. You know, I used to play this, you know, I used to play the saxophone, but I'm a better artist. I wanted to play the saxophone because all my friends wanted to play the saxophone, or play music. I don't really have a lot of musical talent, and I think that maybe for you, owning that to a certain degree, and being able to go with, you know, with, again, the Page of Cups up right here, you've already actually got something that you do love, and I think that that might be more important to why you can't connect. You've dropped something recently. That's the clue. You have been distracted by tarot from something that you're actually damn good at.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Ethony has had to go. She had to pick up her little one. So that's the life of we, you know, card slinging mamas. So she was so wonderful to have on our panel. We will be interviewing or hanging out with her. Not necessarily interview, because that's not really what we do. We hang out with people on Spread the Switches. We like to just like have a really great little chit chat and get to know people on a deeper level. But she will be coming back, and she will be one of our guests, and she'll be talking all about that amazing, cute little tarot deck that you saw her slinging left, right, and center here. So look forward to that. So I'm so delighted to have had Ethony here. Now we are going to move on. We have another question here from Becky Girelli. I just butchered someone's last name. Don't worry about it. Recently retired from medical field. What do you see me doing next? Thanks. Who wants this one? Alora?
Really? There's only one. Okay. Well, and you. Ooh. Ooh.
She's intent, folks. She's intent. Actually, as she's shuffling up, Anthony M has asked, how often should one reread for querents? And I assume that means between readings. Now, for me, it very much depends. I keep it as 3 months. 3 to 6 months is a good time for a reread, unless the reading that they're getting is different from the first one that they got. So if I did a spirit work session with them and they want a love, you know, relationshipy kind of reading, then that can be the next day or the next week. It doesn't matter, because they're very different. So that's my thoughts on that.
So first of all, congratulations on getting out of the medical field and into retirement, because that's awesome and great. But the two cards that came up for you are the Six of Swords, and this is from the Harry Potter Tarot, and then the Six of Cups. So 6 seems to be pretty significant because there's 2 sixes. And so in numerology with 6s, I think of family, home, nurturing. And with the 6 of Cups, we're also talking about, I'm going to go a little off script here because I'm going to tell you what the cards are telling me. But I can see you doing something with children possibly. And also something that has to do with maybe children counseling, or maybe even something you did in your childhood that you really enjoyed. And it could be, you know, it could be a creative pursuit, but the way that these cards come up, I would say creative and intellectual with a nurturing twist in there. So I don't know, I'm not a predictive reader. So that could be anything from writing, art, childcare, any of those things probably apply. But like I said, I'm not a predictive reader. So I'm just giving you the options as the cards have laid them out. You in a role of, definitely in a role of advice giver of some sort in a creative pursuit as well.
Fabulous. So we've got another one here from Claire Giff, and I'll take this one if you guys don't mind. And the question is, should I start reading people for free? Now, I'm assuming she means tarot reading. Now, when I first saw this question, I was shuffling my Marielle and 2 cards fell out. So they've been sitting here and I've been waiting for this question, and they've just been sitting here. And so I got the Page of Wands and the Lovers card. And so I would say that free is a bad idea. I think that you have got far more experience behind you because the page is an energetic, enthusiastic, and skilled individual. They have a charm and a charisma and an exuberance to them that naturally draws the eye. They are a fire being the other element being the magical element. So you might have a really strong knack for this, so don't undersell it. What I would advise you to do is to do it on an exchange, a fair exchange. Like, I'll read for you and you can give me a donation of some kind, of fair exchange. What do you think the reading is worth? And I would do it that way. Partnerships is something that really emphasizes this because you are going to be reading for others. There's going to be an exchange, a partnership type of exchange. You are also going to be learning quite a bit when you put yourself in this arena of reading publicly for other people. And I think that the beautiful trump card here of the Lovers and that aspect of partnership is really calling you forth and calling that skill set out of you. So I think this is a really beautiful marriage of cards for stepping out there and becoming a reader and, you know, really emphasizing your talents. And it looks like you've got plenty of talents to emphasize there. So that's what I'm going to give you today. How beautiful are these cards, though? Can anyone just like, hell yeah to Marielle? We do have another question here, and you guys can fight over it. It's one from the Random Witch, and it is, what do I need to know about my new path with the Morrigan? Who wants to take this one?
Can we do something fun?
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't we all like pull a card and do like rapid fire one word?
Okay.
I know. I don't know. I like to play.
I think this is good. I think this is the twist. We're evolving.
We're evolving. Okay, Random Witch. Huh?
Okay, so we are drawing for a journey with the Morrigan.
Did you just ripple shuffle?
Did you just ripple shuffle? Did you? You have to look very, hold on. You have to have that face, the Avalon, that exasperated light. You have to draw back for a second and then lean in. Did you just It's the lean back and the lean forward. Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. All right. Third.
gosh, there's two riffles.
Yeah, two
I already
rifflers.
knew this about Nico. I knew this. I found this out like many years ago. I've come to
Well,
terms.
yeah, I was gonna. Yes, but you're also envious of my beat up decks.
I know.
Yeah, says my RWS deck.
The
That looks like
antique
it is
wall
so
look of your decks.
Beat up.
This one is in pretty bad shape. I have red and sand with this one. It's been shuffling some sand. That'll tear your stuff up.
It
Oh, it looks so good. I love it.
My druid craft. Just sort of a.
That's the best.
So awesome. That's so awesome.
I'm not much of a collector. I tend to donate as much as I get, so I tend to just wail on a deck for about 4 months, and then it goes on the shelf until it finds a new home. So
I am right there with you. I don't collect
I like
myself.
it.
Oh, I'm loving this frozen. Look at that frame. That frame for Alora. Her face is frozen. I'm loving that frame.
She is frozen in ecstasy.
I'm loving this frame right there. That's
I like
gorgeous. That's a good look. I don't know if you all can see Alora, but she's kind of like frozen and in her imagery there. She's just kind of like, it's great.
All right. Oh.
Okay, where was that reading? Where was that question? Samantha, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Well, she's coming back.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
there she is.
She's cloned herself.
She
That is a
found
gorgeous headshot.
The nice saucy minx.
Saucy Migs. So, okay, so Alora had this gorgeous plan of basically what we were going to do, which is basically one word interpretation of each card. Now, are we all going to do one word each, just 4, or are we going to do like in a round? I don't think we should do it in a round.
Let's just
Yeah?
do like one, like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. You know what? This will work with random because she's a reader.
Okay.
So if there's a gap, she'll get it. She's intuitive. Psychic even.
Oh my god, it's so fun. And it can be a phrase. You know what I mean? Like
It can be a phrase.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
give me that option. Don't give me those options. You said
it
one
can't be
word.
listen, hair bro.
Terror goat. To bro goat. That's it. To bro goat.
Yes.
Meh.
What do I need to know about my new path with the Morrigan? I'm guessing this isn't a path that... It's not a new path with the same goddess. It's a new goddess altogether.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a introduction to a new deity, essentially, right? A deity that has quite a vast narrative, but let's not analyze that because we could be here for an entirely, a ridiculously long time. So shall I kick it off?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so excited about it.
The Hanged Man. Ooh. Pause and collect yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, as I drop it, that's a terrible sign. So I'm gonna go next. So I drew the Queen of Swords, and a keyword for myself that one word, alone. I can't. Hold on.
This is not. No, this isn't fair.
This just turned into a drunk game.
I think we are
I need to buy a photo like this.
delusional.
You talk every day. This is essentially how awesome our conversations are. This
This is it. This is
never
it. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure because I was going to hold up my card, but I know we all have our mics on, so I didn't want to have it be like not shifting. So I wanted to, so if we could turn your mics, I've got the 9 of Pentacles. I don't know if you can see that, sweetheart, if we're looking at different people's, because all the mics are still on. But the 9 of Pentacles, you know, the first thing that came to mind, I'm sorry I can't do one word with this one, but I'm looking at the 9 of Pentacles and I'm seeing an early payoff with an early reward, and you better be able to pay her back. This will be a very offering heavy path.
Alrighty. And I guess I'm last. That's okay. I got a basically Wheel of Fortune wheel, that came up, and you are so fate, destiny. That's where you're supposed to be.
That was so articulate. Alrighty.
No,
There you go.
She fucking dug it, man. This is Random Witch. She gets it.
Look, I'm down. Fate, destiny. That's where you're at.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's all in there. Like, all the information is in there. How did you like that, Random? All right. So that was random, and that was random and random. And who else have we got? We've got some others here, and we're going to have to cap it soon, guys, because we've all got lives that we need to get back to. So let's do 2 more questions, which I've already injected here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah. Ancient blessings. Can someone take... Okay, yeah. Insight on bringing my YouTube channel back to life. Leave it dormant, or bring it back. Okay, there we go. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah, let Alora do a basket for that.
Oh yeah, do a basket for that.
Okay. You guys,
in the meantime, while she's constructing her basket, we could get to Dulcie is reading. That's the name of the person who asked the question. Anything in particular to focus on my relationship with my goddess? So relationship with the goddess, anything in particular that she may need to focus on? Who would like to take that one?
Can you repeat the other question as well in a minute? Because I didn't hear the whole...
Yes, I can. Your question for your basket, Alora. That sounds so fun. Insight on bringing my YouTube channel back to life. Should I leave it dormant or bring it back? And then for anybody else who's willing to answer it, Dulcie is reading. Anything in particular to focus on for my relationship, for the cultivation of my relationship with my goddess? To further cultivate, to nourish maybe? I'm injecting words there that aren't there. I'm just filling in the gap. Who would like that one? That's you? That you, Nico? Go. You go.
Yes. I love you. All right. Oh, okay. Okay, so I drew several cards because I'm not a very good 1-card reader. I tend to do at least 3 to 6 at a time, even for short questions. So one of the things that I'm noticing is that when it comes to actually working with your goddess, you seem to be picking up a lot of things really, really fast. I've got the 8 of Wands upright and the Death card reversed. And to me, the Death card reversed can indicate an imbalance in both endings and beginnings, not just holding on to the past, but sometimes that reckless, let's just start over and end everything all the time. Reap and sow, reap and sow, reap and sow, reap and sow, reap and sow in rapid succession. So it's almost like something always ends super, super quickly. And that too is an imbalance of life and death. And I'm looking at the 8 of Wands and the Death card reversed, and I'm kind of like, okay, so obviously we're just, it's kind of feeling like a little bit of, what the message is coming in is that when it comes to reconnecting with your goddess, there's a lot that is left unnurtured, and we keep trying to pile more on, and the energy is a little out of control. And the 4 of Wands upright is saying it's time to you need to be culminating some of your milestones. And I think that to reconnect with your goddess, that the first thing that you need to do is stop heaping up more to work on with your goddess. It's like it's like we're kind of piling on all these activities, you know, and you want to work with your, you know, what do you want to do with your parent in this situation? Do you want to go outside? Do you want to go on a walk? Do you want to go play catch? Do you want to cook? Do you want to learn how to do this? Do you want to play music? Do you want to watch a movie? You know, do you want to play video games? And it's like the problem is there's so much, and there's so much happening that that there's some things that need to be dropped. I think the best way to reconnect with our goddess is to kind of, you know, the goddess themselves is kind of saying she will give you her attention. She wants to give you her attention, but she's not going to decipher your intention for you. Okay, there's too much on the table, and it's almost like as soon as something's put on, it's put back off. Okay, so I think that what's happening when it comes to reconnecting with your goddess is that everything is so purposeful, and we're kind of trying to take care of a million different things all at the same time. And I think that that's what the Eight of Wands and the Death card reverse is talking about. It's an imbalance of life and death, not just because stuff is very old, but because stuff is coming and going too quickly. And I think that you know, the first thing that I would do with you, you know, with the High Priestess reversed as well, and the Page of Swords reversed, is kind of saying, look, we need to stop making the call of, you know, trying to start something over new. I think that you need some kind of quest, honestly. I think that you need a quest with your goddess. I think that you need something that you are consistently working on, something that is a consistent bond. For instance, you know, I work with the goddess Bridget, and goddess Bridget and I have, you know, we regularly work on a particular activity. It's our bonding activity. She's there to charge all my oils and my candles and things like that with me. And that's what we do as crafters together. You know, what exactly do you do that your goddess does? Okay, that might be something to look into. What can we do to reconnect in that fashion? I don't think that we're bonding that way. I think that there's so much happening all at once, and it's, you know, and I think it's just a little all over the place. And nothing wrong with it. They're all very good things. It's just, you can't connect a million different ways every single time. It's like if you were trying to chat with somebody on social media or on the phone or something, and they kept logging out and signing into a new account like 50 times in a row, you'd never be able to catch them. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, dear.
Wonderful. And now we are back to Alora, who has just constructed her beautiful little tarot basket. The question again was, insight on bringing my YouTube channel back to life. Should I leave it dormant or bring it back?
Okay, so this is very interesting. So the answer is the channel, the way that you left it, or the way that you made videos before, or branded yourself, or your channel the way it was, leave it where it is. Because there's the 10 of Swords in here, and so that's the first thing that, like, when I see it, comes to mind. However, you are a very creative person. You do want to get into a creative pursuit. When it comes to reinventing a YouTube channel, judgment is also in here. So I would stress for you to go over the reasons why it is currently dormant, and if you are willing to face those reasons in a new channel. And I'm also going to tell you that perhaps YouTube isn't the most creative and best media for your talents, because sometimes it's just not. However, I do see you doing a creative pursuit, and right now you just need to put in a little exploration into what you really want to do, and definitely leave that channel like it was in the leave it shut in the closet.
All right, guys, that is about all that we have time for. I know that there are a few other questions that have been put out there. So I don't want to be rude and just ignore you, but I will ask that you hold on to those questions for our next live broadcast. Feel free to join us on our Spread This Witch's channel, which we are airing. So if you don't know about this yet, please be aware of this. we are now going to be broadcasting on a specific Spread This Witches channel. So from now on, each and every time we have a broadcast, you just need to go to that one channel. You don't have to chase us around all of our separate channels in order to get there. And so, you know, I ask that you be present and put forth your question again. And just understand, of course, that we have been on here for a really long time and we can't stay on any longer. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate each and every one of you for attending, for being present, for sharing space with us today, this evening, or today, as it's daytime on my end, and for, you know, enriching the experience by having such extraordinarily complex and activating conversations within the chat stream, and for really contributing to the topic at hand. You guys have been absolutely amazing, and we have loved every single little bit of what you have written. So I'm going to sign off and say goodbye, and thank you so much for sharing space with us once again. It's been wonderful, and I would ask you all to sign off and say goodbye as well.
Bye, guys.
Loving and nurturing you, you guys. I love you so very much. Thank you for making this. I think what we could honestly say has been the best broadcast we've ever done. So, and that was thanks to you guys. This is a very community-driven thing. Yeah, this is a very community-driven thing, and you guys are dialed in, and we're dialed in, and when we're all dialed in together, we make magic. Love you guys.
It's a pleasure being back on here. I do enjoy being invited back every once in a while to come in and check in. I know I don't get to come and hang out as much as I'd like to, but it's always a pleasure being back here. And, you know, again, it's always fun meeting everyone and finally getting to kind of cut loose and let my hair down. So thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure once again, and thank you for you know, just creating such a nice venue for everyone to cut loose. And so much love to everybody. And I do want to say one thing though, because we talk about this is about ethics and, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. If you all like my horoscope channel, that's fine, but there's a lot of videos that go on there all the time. And if you'd rather subscribe to another channel of mine, Scarlet Moon Magic, my vlog instead, you know, so your subscription feed doesn't just turn into 100 billion horoscopes in a row, go to Scarlet Moon Magic, all one word, and you'll still see me. And, you know, you can go back and forth between both channels. But I always like to give people that option because, again, there's a lot of horoscopes, you know.
And
so
it's fucking awesome. His vlog channel's awesome.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, so Scarlet Moon Magic, all one word. It might be an alternative for those of you who are more interested in that than the horoscopes. So, you know, I like to put it out there.
That's beautiful. Thank you again, Nico, so much for joining us. We love to have you, you know, hang out with us from time to time. You've always been such a wonderful personality, and you bring so much to the table as far as information and wisdom to digest. So you really do add that extra special dimension to all of our conversations. Thank you so much for your well-meaning and, you know, fully aware and bursting with wisdom contributions. So with all of that said and done, people, I'm going to end the broadcast here. Thank you so much for joining us. Look after yourselves.